Have you felt it lately? That kind of weird, disorienting feeling that the ground is shifting under our feet when it comes to technology? Well, AI expert Andrej Karpathy has been right there on the front lines of this massive change. So today, we're going to dive into his firsthand account of this new AI era and why the most important factor for success might just be you.
And look, he's not exaggerating here. This is Karpathy literally describing his new reality. The whole relationship has flipped on its head. We're not just users anymore. We are commanders, constantly directing these digital agents to do whatever we want. It's this intense, all-consuming process that he actually calls a form of psychosis.
So, what on earth is AI psychosis? No, it's not a medical diagnosis. It's his way of describing a feeling. This feeling of being completely overwhelmed by a sudden, massive unlock in what a single person can now get done.
I mean, imagine you wake up one day and realize the laws of physics in your job have just changed. That's what Karpathy's talking about. He feels like he's in this perpetual state of psychosis, just constantly trying to figure out the limits of what he can now do. And for knowledge workers, this can create this, constant low-level anxiety. Are you really using these new powers to their full potential?
And here's what really shows you how fast this all happened. In a single month, his work went from him doing all the typing to him just doing the thinking and delegating pretty much everything else. He says he hasn't typed a line of code since. This isn't some slow, gradual evolution. It is a sudden, dramatic revolution in how work gets done.
So this revolution brings us to the core idea here. If the AI is doing all the work, what's left for us to do? Well, that brings up a really fascinating and, maybe for some, a slightly uncomfortable new reality.
For decades, our productivity was limited by physical stuff, like how fast we could type or how quickly we could click a mouse. But now, that's completely irrelevant. The new bottleneck is all in your head. How well can you explain what you want to an AI? How skilled are you at directing it?
And this is where the psychology gets really interesting. It used to be you'd say, the program has a bug. Now, when an AI fails to give you the right result, the immediate thought is, I have a bug. I didn't give it good enough instructions. The responsibility is shifted right back to us.
So here's the crucial point. You, the human, you're the limiting factor now. Your ability to think clearly, communicate what you want, and manage a bunch of these AI agents at once is what determines the maximum output. Karpathy even says he gets nervous when his AI subscriptions have usage credits left over because it means he hasn't maximized his own productivity.
Okay, let's make this a bit more concrete and see how this all builds up. To make this new power tangible, Karpathy thinks of these autonomous agents as a claw, like something that can reach out and do stuff for him even when he's not looking.
And as a perfect example of this, he actually built one of these claws to run his entire home. He calls it Dobby, and what it did with just a few prompts is, honestly, pretty astonishing.
You have to hear this. He just told the agent that he thought he had a Sonos system. That's it. From that one little hint, the agent scanned his whole home network, found all the smart devices, went online to figure out their private APIs, built its own control dashboard, and then just waited for his next command. All of that in a matter of minutes. It's absolutely incredible. And the result? A single interface, using just plain English to run his entire house. Lights, temperature, music, even his security system, all controlled by just sending WhatsApp texts to Dobby. This one agent replaced 6 different clunky apps and just unified them into a single point of control. It's a really powerful glimpse into a future with way fewer apps and a lot more agents.
Okay, so a smart home butler is one thing, and that's pretty wild. But Karpathy didn't stop there. He took this same idea of autonomous agents and aimed it at something way, way bigger: scientific research itself. He calls this auto research.
The whole point of auto research is pretty simple, but it's also totally radical. Get the human bottleneck out of the way. If the human researcher is the thing slowing down discovery, well then the only way to speed things up is to create a system where AI agents can run experiments, analyze the results, and come up with new ideas in a totally autonomous loop. So to test this whole thing out, Karpathy pointed an auto research agent at a model that he himself had spent years personally tweaking. He figured it was in a pretty good spot. He let the agent run overnight, and it came back with significant improvements that he had completely missed.
And his takeaway from this? It's pretty blunt. In fields where you have clear, objective ways to measure success, our human intuition and experience can actually hold progress back. The future of research, he's basically saying, is to design the system, define the goal, and then just let the agents run wild. Now, before we get too carried away, it is super important to understand the limits of all this new power. The capabilities of AI are not some smooth, even wall of intelligence. Instead, we're all living on what Karpathy calls the jagged frontier.
I mean, think about it, right? We have AI that can optimize these super complex code bases overnight. But if you ask it for a joke, it still tells the same tired pun about scientists and atoms that it was telling 3 years ago. So why is that? This is the jaggedness. Karpathy describes it perfectly. It's like talking to a brilliant PhD systems programmer who is, at the exact same time, a 10-year-old. The AI's intelligence is incredibly spiky. It's super advanced in some areas and then surprisingly basic in others.
You can kind of see the pattern here, right? AI is amazing at tasks that are verifiable, where you can measure success with objective numbers, like code that either works or it doesn't, or a math problem that has one right answer. But it really struggles with these softer skills, understanding sarcasm in an email, grasping subtle emotions in a story, and yeah, humor.
And there's a really simple reason for this. AI labs improve their models using reinforcement learning that's based on clear rewards. They can easily reward a model for writing code that works. But how do you create a reward for being more insightful or understanding unspoken context? You can't, not easily. So those skills just don't get better as fast.
And that right there, that leads us to probably the single most important takeaway from all of this. This is the new job description for all of us. Our role is to operate in those gaps, on that jagged frontier where things are hard to verify and nuance is everything. Our value is in handling the subjective, the ambiguous, and the deeply human stuff.
So as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. When you have infinite digital hands to do the what, your entire value shifts to defining the why and the how. In this new world, navigating that jagged frontier isn't just a skill, it's the skill.